Hello wonderful person, this is Anton, and in today's video we're actually going to be talking about the asteroid belt. And we're going to be talking about a planet that we thought existed in this region that was then destroyed and creating the asteroid belt, and this planet had the name Phaeton. Let's talk about this, and welcome to What the Math. So this right here is Phaeton. This is a planet we thought actually did exist at some point in this region, and then something happened to it and it created the asteroid belt. At least this was the major theory for a very long time, since basically early 1800s. Back then, scientists actually thought that there was a pattern between the distance between planets and the sun. And so, for example, if you were to look at the distances here, there's actually a kind of a symmetry in terms of distances, and this symmetry can be established as a kind of a pattern. And using this pattern, which I'm going to be discussing in one of the future videos, the scientists established that there was something missing in between Jupiter and Mars. And ironically, they actually discovered Ceres only a few years later, which was hypothetically that planet that they were missing. But then they started finding more and more asteroids, and it kind of put a dent into that theory. And they actually started realizing that maybe, just maybe, this asteroid belt that they started to discover was actually a result of a planet that was previously located in this area, but then something happened to it. And they actually back then proposed 4 major theories. One of them was that, well, maybe, just maybe, this planet was actually somehow destroyed by a collision with something else. In other words, possibly a very large object, such as another planet, may have collided with Phaeton and basically destroyed it completely, creating a lot of debris. So this was one of the propositions. The other one was in regards to this particular planet moving too close to Jupiter and basically getting shredded apart by Jupiter's gravitation. There was also another theory that proposed the hypothetical brown dwarf called Nemesis that may have actually destroyed this particular object. And the last but not least was another theory that proposed that maybe there was some sort of a cataclysm on the inside of the planet, and it basically resulted in the explosion of this planet, which also resulted in the asteroid belt. Now, all of these theories were very interesting, and they tried to explain kind of something that we believed back then. We believed that this is the region where we should expect a planet, and because there was no planet but instead a lot of debris, we thought that it's just something was there before, and that something was destroyed by some kind of an event. And it sounds like a pretty sound theory. As a matter of fact, it does have a name. This currently is known as the disruption theory, but most of the astrophysicists and most of the scientists today don't actually believe this is really what happened. As a matter of fact, there's really no reason for us to believe that this is what happened. And today, most scientists actually believe that it was actually the opposite, that it's not that something was destroyed, it's just the asteroid belt represents something that was never created. In other words, all of these rocks that you are about to see here, that are, I guess, are not as visible because they're a little bit dark, but they're also, there's like a lot of them here, they're also here along with the explosion I just created. These rocks are basically the result of something that was never really made. They represent the planet that was never born. So technically, the scientists back then were kind of right. Maybe there was supposed to be a planet here, but because of the Jupiter's gravitation and because of the all of the other stuff that was going on in the earlier solar system, this never became a planet. It just stayed as a shredded protoplanets and basically large asteroids that are there today. But nevertheless, that obviously doesn't change the fact that there are still people today that believe that Phaeton may have existed, and also some people believe that it still is somewhere out there, because that's kind of how we like to believe things. We love to think that something mysterious is just somewhere out there. And by the way, the word Phaeton is actually from Greek mythology as well. And it represents the son of Zeus, who actually, I believe he actually took Zeus's chariot and went for a ride, and then something happened and he crashed the chariot. And that's kind of how they decided to represent this object as well, because they thought it was something that crashed into Jupiter, into Zeus. Because in the story, I believe Zeus actually ended up destroying his own son. He basically got so mad at him for stealing his chariot that he completely turned him into pieces, just like Phaeton did in the story that we believed back then. But I guess what is important to take away from all of this is that we actually believed in this particular disruption theory for a very, very long time. We actually thought that this was true for at least 100 years, and some people even believed that this was true up to about mid 20th century, which is basically 150 years. And this suggests to us that there's some things today that we might think are true about our own solar system, or even galaxies and the universe in general. But with time, we might be able to discover new facts that will tell us that this is not true. So today we know that, almost for a fact, Phaeton was not a thing. And I just completely destroyed it by clicking on it. It was very likely never a thing. We're almost certain that this is just a region that never developed into a planet. So these are protoplanetary bodies, of which our own Earth is made as well. But there are definitely some other theories out there about our galaxy and about our solar system that one day will also be disproved, just like the idea of Phaeton. What they are, we obviously don't know just yet, but maybe it will be actually you disproving them in the future. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about in this video, and I wanted to introduce the so-called fifth planet that never existed, Phaeton. And this is a series that kind of started the entire cycle of discoveries in this particular region. And some people actually thought that this was the fifth planet for a very, very long time. Today we know this as a dwarf planet. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Come back tomorrow to learn something else. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Space out. And as always, bye bye.